I apologize if I look tired. But anyways, here is just a little guide if you still want to play your old Oculus Rift DK1 games on Windows 11/10, because it is a little bit hard to do so. There's a little workaround because there are outdated drivers. So there are first two things to keep in mind. Firstly, this isn't just some plug and play thing. I have mine all hooked up. I don't feel like getting my thing out, but I'll just add it in post, add an image post. As you can see, there's no display in the headset. There's nothing, none of that. So firstly, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to install a display driver into this, but the way we're gonna have to do it is a bit weird because yet again, the old drivers are very outdated. And it is important to note that if you try to install the old drivers on your system, it will brick your computer because the drivers have been outdated forever. There is an easy fix in System 32. You just have the file to delete if you do brick your computer. But keep in mind, don't install any of the old runtimes from 2.0 to 5.0. It will not help you. Firstly, what you want to do is that if you have the modern Meta Horizon app, you're going to uninstall that. Because the issue of this app is that it will conflict with the old Rift software that we're going to have to install, and then we're going to install uninstall. So we got to, oh, I can't spell. So firstly, you just want to uninstall that. A little word of advice here is I have is that if you use something like AirLink, a link cable, or maybe even a Rift S or a CV1, is that if you do want to revisit these old games using the old hardware, you probably should just like find a couple days to play a few old games and then just like binge through them, just so you don't have to do this every single time because it is a very tedious process. I'm personally a Rift CV1 user, so now that we got the old Meta Horizon software removed, I need to check something real quick. So this is gonna be important for the future. But as you can see here, we got the display, and you might notice that we only have two displays right now. The way the Rift will work is that it's going to appear as a display. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to have to install an old Oculus Rift runtime, but however not too old. So I have this folder full of Rift DK1 and DK2 assets here, and I'll leave a link to this below, but you're going to want to install either SDK 7 or 8. I might be a bit different, but I'm just going to do SDK 8. I'll leave a link to this in the description. So you're going to install that. So just go through the entire process. Now, something we want to make sure about is that we want to test if that Oculus display driver works, which is going to cause us to have to go to a specific folder, the Oculus folder, which will be in this directory. That specifically. You want to go to that directory. So with that being said, you just want to go to service here and then OVR service x64, and then you want to open up the Oculus config utility. And sometimes this happens. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, but sometimes that does happen, but as you can see, it does work just to show that, like, this. But the thing is, you actually don't want to really use this because, if I remember right, yeah, okay. It may be hard to show, but we're not going to use it like this because, okay, this is a lot harder to show than I thought it was. Okay, there. As you can see, it's completely broken. It just does, it's all fragmented. So we cannot be playing with the SDK 0.8 with this, at least not on Windows 11. I don't know about Windows 10. So we just did that to make sure it worked. So what we're now going to do is we're going to uninstall this version of the Oculus software. So you just want to find it and then uninstall like that. So once you got that uninstalled, you can restart your computer if you want. You don't have to instantly. But as soon as you got that uninstalled, you should see what looks like a bit of your monitor in the headset. As you see, I have like the Persona 5 background because I love Persona 5. I haven't played much of it, but I need to continue it. But anyways, I heavily suggest, just to make things easier on yourself, you should probably merge one of the monitors. As you can see, I got 2 and 3 on the same monitor here. So this thing is my second monitor, which is to my left. That's kind of confusing, but it'll be different for everyone. It should just work. There is a different occurrence that may happen where it'll appear as a third monitor as a little box that is grayed out. So if that happens, you just want to click on it, and then there should be like a duplicate or a send option. So that should work. Not entirely sure. And if you can see here, just to prove that this actually works, if we go into I had Tuscanyville installed. Hold on, let me get that. Yeah, okay. This is just the Tuscany demo. I'm just gonna extract this real quick. So I'm just gonna open this Oculus Win. That's gonna be the Tuscany demo. It may say this, Windows does this all the damn time and it never makes a difference. So just do that. Okay, and then you can just, I should say, if you were putting the Rift on a monitor, like, as its own monitor, it would only be able to go up to 1280 by 800, but we're not doing that here. So we just open it up, if we just make it our first monitor, I'm full screening it, and as you can see here, it works. If I were to show you this screen, it works. We can move our head up and down, and then I'm just going to put this on. And as you can see, it totally works. I need to get my keyboard picture, but as you can see, it works. I'm into the original Tuscany demo. Oh god. I'd say the nostalgic vibes, but I didn't grow up with a DK1. I just watched YouTubers playing it. Ah, man. Okay. So as you can see, that all works. So now I just want to talk to you about one last thing, and that is trying to find old DK1 games to play. Because it can be quite a challenge in the modern era. A lot of the websites do not exist anymore. A lot of download links are broken. So, if we're going to talk about this topic, we're going to get to talk about one of the best resources in the entire world. Essentially, I have uploaded a lot of games, but I'm not the only one. If I were just to go to Oculus, you should be able to find a decent amount of stuff. So if I go to Date Archived, as you can see, I've done my part. I've done a lot of stuff. Hold on, let me actually set up the software. As you can see, there's a lot of old DK1 and DK2 experiences you can find. Now, if you want to use DK1 to play DK2 games, that's kind of a different process. I'll talk about that in a different video. But as you can see, there's stuff to play. It's a little bit difficult. Not all of it's going to work. And I should say that DK1 games that are exclusively DK1 are only ever going to support the DK1. There's no wrapper to get these things to old versions. At least someone hasn't made one at the time of this video. Maybe someone will eventually, I'm hoping. I don't know. But you can also just find a lot of these. This person's uploaded quite a few. But for the ones that say something like Runtime 8, Runtime 6, 7 or 8, you're going to need to install those specific runtimes, in which you can actually install Runtime 6 on Windows 11. You just need to do what I mentioned there after you uninstall SDK 8, but you're going to have to install 0.6 after that. But sometimes it's buggy and it won't work, and I'm not going to teach that method because I'm not fully sure about it myself. However, something I should say is that if you install Runtime 0.6, you can access DK1 exclusives. For instance, all the ones that, if I were to install SDK 0.6, all of these in here, they're not working. They're not working. They're just not. So yeah, I should say this is probably work like a lot better if you had like a Windows 8 or 10, or sorry, Windows 8 or 7 computer, but I don't, so who knows. With that being said, I think that's all I'm going to have for this tutorial. If I miss anything, I'll pin a comment. You probably should go read that just in case. See you guys next time. Bye.